I just brought on one of the fastest growing content creators and entrepreneurs on LinkedIn. His name's Amos Bar-Joseph, and he runs Swan AI. He's going to teach us and show us how he comes up with his strategy for his content, how he writes content, how he ideates on content ideas, and how he automates all of the back end of it with his platform. I think you're going to love this episode. I learned a ton. I think you will as well. Let's get into it. I'm really curious to see your kind of full cycle of content creation. You've blown up on LinkedIn. You're generating a ton of demand for your business. And so my job is to break down what it is you're doing so that I can share that with others. So let's start at the top. How do you know what to talk about? Like, you seemingly found content market fit. How did you find that, and how do you find it?
So I think a lot of people are optimizing for the wrong thing, which is tactics and collect the hook, or how should I write the post, etc. But basically, it all starts with a very strong foundation. What is your narrative? What's the story? Okay. And what I found is that to have a very powerful story, viral story, you need to have two components in place. One component is a viral narrative, and the other one is a viral narrative. You can't have one without the other. Okay. A viral narrative is a narrative that what I call is challenging the challenger. Okay? You got to be innovative and you got to be contrarian, because otherwise people won't listen. So what does it mean to challenge the challenger? If you're in B2B marketing, so the buyer is currently doing something, right? Or maybe they're doing it in Excel, call it, just to make it simple. And then everyone is just telling them Excel is not the way, you should do X. And then it varies. Yeah, we're doing X with these features. We're doing X with that features. Super boring. What I did is I said, you know what? Everybody is telling you to do X. They are wrong. You shouldn't be doing X. You should be doing Y. Let's take it to our example at Swan. Okay. So at Swan, what we saw is that everyone jumped on the train of AI employees. Okay. They said, you have an SDR. You should have an AI SDR. And everyone started saying, yeah, we have an AI SDR. What we realized is that the biggest potential unlock is by turning each seller into their 100x version of themselves by cracking the code on human AI collaboration. So we said, you know what? We're putting the human back at the center. Everyone is wrong by, pitching you with these AI SDRs as, replacement of your existing. Nobody really wants to manage an AI workforce. Everybody are actually scared of that situation. And then comes Swan with a different narrative that says, wait, it's all about the human at the center. It's all about amplification, not replacement. And this is how you should do that. Wow. First of all, that's interesting. Okay. And what we started building, this concept of autonomous business, is not a business that operates without employees. It's a business that has autonomous employees and autonomous agents working together to scale with intelligence, not with hate. Ooh, interesting narrative that is kind of like contrarian, challenging the challenger, and also optimistic, positive emotions, not fear, FOMO, negative. That's like viral narrative. And now we're going to go to viral narrative. Well, okay. I hope that, you were expecting for a long answer to that short question.
This is perfect. Keep going. Yeah, I'm taking notes over here.
Okay. I hope that you guys are following as well. So we had this viral narrative. Now, if you have a viral narrative, no one would listen to you. No one would care, because who the F are you? Why should I listen to you? There are like a bazillion people who are shouting different narratives right now. So why should I listen to Will? Why should I listen to Amos? And that's why you need to figure out what is your viral narrative strategy. What makes you the most uniquely positioned person on planet Earth to tell that specific narrative? If you don't have a claim to fame to say that you are uniquely positioned to tell that narrative, then this is just, nobody would listen. Nobody would care. And so Swan, what we did, we actually manufactured that in some sense, because we didn't say, look at my experience. Although I'm a third-time founder and I scaled 2 companies before that, and I have a resume, it still doesn't position me in the sense of being at the heart of the human AI, collaboration revolution. So what we said, Swan, we're actually building the first autonomous business. We're on a mission to scale to $10 million ARR per employee. We don't care about valuations. That old model, growth at all costs, just low your valuation. We actually care about revenue per employee because we think that's the metric of the future. And so we're building this business from day one to scale with intelligence, not with headcount. We're just 3 people. We have more than 200 customers, businesses that are using on. We're achieving the impossible because we're architecting for that specific unique business model, which is called the autonomous business. Then people said, wow, I never heard of a business that is designed from the ground up towards human AI collaboration. That is interesting. They must have insights that nobody else has. And now I'm listening. You have a viral narrative and a viral narrator. You get a viral story that you can share on social media and get, like me, 6 million impressions on LinkedIn over the last year or so.
So you became the viral narrator, not because of what you did in the past, but what you're doing currently and how you're approaching it currently.
Exactly. That was a hack. And you can say about what am I doing in the past. You can say about what I'm doing in the present, but you could even say what I'm going to do in the future. That's okay. You can even say, I want to get to somewhere. And even saying, I want to get to somewhere, get people intrigued. So you can play with these editors in some way just to try to create your viral narrative story.
Yeah, that mission that you're going on is a journey or a mission that you might bring others on, and they want to stay with you on that mission for whatever reason. They want to see if you can get there, if you can accomplish the 10 million per head. Is that it for strategy and kind of high level story that sets the direction for the next phase, which is content creation?
I think that in high level, yes. If you have this framework in place, that it means that you have a very strong brand identity, by the way, and it kind of like extension of that. And so you frame that, it means that you have a strong brand identity. Now you know your story. Now it's time to get more tactical. And I think, that leads to kind of the content creation process. So what are like the secret weapons that I use in my content creation process that really helps me generate consistently, over 1 million impressions each month on LinkedIn, and driving our entire pipeline just, from LinkedIn posts without any ads or SDRs or anything.
Yeah, that's insane. Let's get into it. I'd love for you to show me what that looks like.
Yeah. So, quick context before that. At Swan, because we're building an autonomous business, and what we're trying to do is to unlock the 100x version of each person on the team. What does that really mean? It means that we're aspiring, we're thriving to put each employee in their zone of genius as much of the time as we can. And so what happens is that the AI automates what's outside of your zone of genius and augments what's inside of your zone of genius. What is the zone of genius? It's basically the area where your skills and passion intersect to a place where you can create disproportionate value to the company. Okay. And by the way, most of people land in the zone of excellence, which is your skills, no passion. And if you're there, it means that you can create disproportionate value because that disproportionate value comes from that unique intersection where you're super passionate about enhancing your capabilities and being better, and just, you understand what you're doing, you have that skills, and that is where you can really create a lot of value to the company. And so what we did at Swan is we built an army of agents that empower me as the single go-to-market person in the company to generate pipeline end-to-end, basically. And so for every step of the process, we have an AI agent that really automates the mundane and amplifies what's in my zone of genius. And first step of the demand generation process and pipeline generation and capturing that pipeline into revenue is creating content on LinkedIn, right? Because my zone of genius is storytelling, is the LinkedIn game. So how can we build an army of AI agents? So what I'm going to show you is my project in ChatGPT. Okay? Basically, this is where I start my entire thinking process. It's a project where I have a lot of like different files that I share within the project itself, which has different successful posts, my content strategy, my pillars, and how do I look at different subjects and how do I want to, refer to these, etc. And we're going to look at example of how I rank, unicorns to zombie cores analysis. So what does it mean? How do I actually use it? It has a prompt, which has a very structured way of going at it. So I start with a data dump. Okay, this is what I want to write a post about. How the unicorn playbook is dead, and most of the current unicorns are actually zombie cores, which are about to get cut down in 2026, get sold pieces. So basically what the agent starts is with like high-level strategic advice. Okay, so what's the real insight here? Okay, let's try to analyze it together. So ready to zoom in, if that's okay, it will suggest like 3 hookups. It'll say, okay, you know what? Wait, I read that and it'll say, I want to consider a completely different alternative first. Weight both of them against each other. Why? Because it suggested 2 different directions that we can go in. So basically, let's just suggest 1 and 2 and 3 different. Then it says, okay, 3 different narrative options. The rise of the zombie cores here. And basically this one is more like my original one. The second one is the liquidity trap, though it's more focused on why the label the zombie core. So what's happens like behind the scenes. And we have okay, so you see how I'm working with it, not just write me a post about something. Like let's try to collaborate together to first understand what should be the narrative. How should we approach it? And then, okay, let's say that let's go with arc number 1. Now, here's the data from the analysis, which I actually use ChatGPT to fetch. So I have a lot of like data, again, the data dump. And I just write it down here, and I can this is just a second, I'm going to show you, it's a trick that I actually also do. So instead of having long conversations, by the way, I just edit the last message so that I can control the context for the agent. We don't lose my control of the hours. But basically, what I did here is let's go with arc number 1. I like the direction of the hook in option 2. So let's continue and see where it goes. Okay, now we're working on the hook itself. Okay, and now it actually gets it from a guide, which I gave it to on how to write great hooks, which is actually stolen from Paul framework. Alec, if you're listening, you did a great job with how to structure a good hook. Basically, line 1 is social proof plus storytelling, and line 2 is expectation set. And it has like a full guide in one of the files that I share with it on why this is good. And this is like an amazing framework for writing great hooks on LinkedIn. So it says, okay, in 2024, we created 4x more unicorns, and in IPOs, line 2, what looks like a record year is actually the start of a mass extinction event. Or here's a better one to be, I just ran the numbers. Sepra, the unicorn playbook that didn't just break, it created an entire generation of zombies. So this is a great book, and I continue working with those later on, and I could just tell it, okay, now analyze the data. So what I'm trying to basically show you here, Will, and maybe it was a little bit chaotic, and I'm sorry for that, because my thought process could sometimes be chaotic as well, is that I use ChatGPT as a thought partner. It has a deep understanding of which posts are working, my style, how do I write books and great guides for it, and a collaborative process, which we always go to, that starts from a high-level strategic advice and guidance to all the way down to the hook, and then next section, etc.
If I could jump in here, some of these guides and resources, like Alec Paul's hook writing guide, is that something that you get from him as a consultant of yours? Is it something that is shared publicly that we could get access to? And like, what else is in that Shakespeare project that is instrumental to writing a really good piece of content, or ideating with you on good content?
Yeah. So first of all, I have a newsletter as well where I shared my entire prompting framework with the subscribers. So happy to share that here as well after the show with the links. The secret weapons are the following. So they're this, opinionated guide on how to write great hooks. That's one. Okay. And happy to share that. I think maybe it's also available online. It's not like I'm working without it or something. Then you basically have like this process that is opinionated, but it's really adjusted for how I like to think about posts. It's like, okay, here's the idea. Let's try to look at it from different angles, different narratives. Okay, we thought about one narrative. Now let's try to understand what should be the hook. Then let's try to work on it section by section. So it's very like, broken down into pieces, this collaborative process. And I have like a huge prompt, which I just iterated over time because I saw, I don't like where the AI takes it that direction. I want to keep it caged. So add another instruction. Over time, it just, turned into a massive prompt. Things like, in mobile, people can only see the first sentence, right? So we gotta have the first sentence amazing and pattern interrupt, because if not, we're going to lose the mobile, right? So things like that are nuanced that I captured over time.
Specific to LinkedIn, like these aren't just like storytelling tips or writing tips. It's storytelling for LinkedIn because of X, Y, and Z parameters.
Yes, but I gave it also a thought process, which kind of like I do. So before it answers my request, it actually follows a thought process, which is also opinionated. So it will write down a thought process that would say, okay, let's try to understand the emotional archaeology here. So it's starting to say, what does we want to get the reader feeling when it reads that? So it asks itself that question and writes that down. There's like, okay, should we use a pattern interrupt mechanism? And then it says, okay, if we're going to do that, then we want to say, like, what you would expect would be X. So let's do Y instead, because that will create a pattern interrupt. So there's like these tools, like thinking tools that I gave it, so that when we're talking strategically, the AI will follow that thought process. We'll write it down, and it will just guide it through a more deeper thinking and answers, which gives you more interesting angles on your content.
So let me just go back to the narrative and narrator. Is everything that you create tied to that one direction?
Yeah, definitely. Consistency is the most important thing. Yeah. Okay. Because that's why people are listening to you, and that's how you compound over time. You get the position where, you're that guy. You're that guy that talks about X, right? Yeah, and you became like the expert in that. And that just, that compounds over time.
Maybe a couple more follow-ups. So you mentioned that the project is trained on content that has worked. Is that your content or everyone's content? Like, how is that sourced?
It's my content, but you could if you're starting from scratch, then you could easily just take like best performing posts or like style that you like. But you should understand that you need to find a style that works for you, because it's not there isn't a winning formula. It all starts with the strategy and the narrative. If you have a good narrative, then all these micro tactics are enabler. They are not what will really create virality. What happened to us is that we didn't even start, and we talked about how do you get to the right narrative. So it's like product market fit. So you get like narrative market fit. It's the same thing in that sense. You start with an idea, and the best way to validate it is to start writing a lot of posts about it. And what happened to us is we didn't really start with the autonomous business. We actually started with, let's make sales human again. Okay, so we're in go-to-market. Swan, helps you build AI agents for go-to-market, and say, you know what? Yeah, we're going to help you build AI agents, but to make sales human again, spend less time on system, more times, engaging with buyers. And that was cool. But it didn't really break the social LinkedIn game. It wasn't enough. And I wrote one post about how I think that Lovable, it was before Lovable was fake. It had like $5 million in the ARR or something like that. And I said, like, Lovable is a cool company. They're one of these autonomous businesses because I think, they're operating with a small team and trying to make massive impact. And that post blew up. And then I said, I think there's a lot of appetite for the autonomous business. So we kind of like reverse engineer the make sales human again to like make the AI revolution human again, right? Took it bigger, one step high level, and iterated on it until we found like perfect alignment between our audience and the narrative.
Yeah, we believe at 64 Stories, we believe storytelling is infrastructure, and you need to treat it that way. And so one of the ways that we find content market fit is by running a bunch of different experiments until we find just an outlier. It's not about like measuring a small uptick here and there. It's like, can we find a 3x outlier on the average? And so when you see a post go from, or average posts go from 20 to 100, it's like, okay, hey, there's something. Do more of the 100. Drop everything else. Just do more of the 100. The thing is, like, most people just don't do that. They're like, but I want to go back to my old ways, and I'm comfortable in this zone. So yeah, I think what you did is you found something that worked and just double down on it.
Yeah, exactly.
Just in the last few minutes here, let's talk about the last piece of it, which is the automation. So I imagine there's a million different things that you have built that not automate this process, but make the most of the process. So I'm curious to know what you're doing on that front.
Yeah, definitely. So well, going back to that zone of genius analogy in the beginning, what we did is we built an army of AI agents around that LinkedIn storytelling game so that we can capture all that demand that we're creating, and that I could create on value creation activities rather than just admin and repetitive work. So we built an agent for every step of the funnel, basically. And it didn't happen in one day. It's like every layer in the funnel just created friction, and we wanted to solve that friction. And we thought to ourselves, okay, what could we automate with AI, and what should I do? And then that came up with an agent. And so the first agent that we built was actually, okay, we're getting all these LinkedIn attention, but that's so much, we can monitor all of these engagers, right? So what should we do with that? We had an agent that monitors the activity on these posts, likes and comments, etc. It could just surface up, hot ICP leads who are really engaging with thoughtful content. And I can share with you, if you look at my screen, basically, it just sends me Slack alerts. Okay, so can you see my screen, Will?
Yeah, I can. Yep.
Okay, awesome. So for those of you who are just listening, what I'm looking at is basically an alert in Slack, which my agent Swan sent me. That says new LinkedIn intent from sales excellence advisors. They're GTM consulting trained. And so what I see here is that Jerry, he's the founder and CEO, commented on Brandon Short's LinkedIn post. So it's not only for my posts, we do it for other creators as well. And Brandon Short, if you're not following them, go and follow Brandon. He's amazing. And he posted about contrarian GTM beliefs, and Jerry expressed clear frustration. Nobody has nailed orchestrating GTM workflows. AI, not Play, not Momentum, nobody. And so this shows active evaluation, dissatisfaction with current solutions. And just reading out loud the alert that I got from Swan. So it was really able to capture the fact that this comment is really in our niche, and it clearly emphasized dissatisfaction from our competitors. And then what it did is it engaged them. It sent them a connection request from me and prepared a follow-up DM draft to acknowledge his frustration and offering to show Swan's agent approach, and created a record in HubSpot for the contact and for the company. Okay. But what's cool about it is I can go into the thread here, seek out more details about the interaction. I have all the assets in HubSpot, etc., that I can go look at it. Then I can actually talk with Swan to complete the final step. And I can say, you know what? So let's research Jerry's company. What's their ICP? And so Swan can perform research here and understand their company, their ICP, what their buyer personas, etc. Then I can say, you know what, Swan, let's reach out to Jerry from Edo's LinkedIn. Send a connection request, then a DM thanking for accepting the connection. Said done. I can just click here and I will go to the actual message that Swan queued up for me in Slack. I don't need to leave Slack. Everything just lives here. So I see Jerry. I can click on review and edit. And I see here that there's a campaign, LinkedIn connection request should be sent, and then a message that Swan wrote for me. Hi, Jerry. Thanks for connecting. Saw your comment about AI GTM orchestration. We'd love to show you how Swan's agentic approach will align with vision. And if you're interested, that's it. I click on approve and save. It will send that campaign. So it's that easy for me to connect the dots between someone who engaged on one of my posts to actually send them a thoughtful outreach, which brings them to a conversation without me stepping outside of Slack. Takes me 60 seconds to just review everything and choose the right action.
Yeah, I think the mistake that a lot of people are making is they're investing a lot of time and effort into LinkedIn and then not capturing all the demand that they're creating from their posts, like and not even their posts, but competitors' posts or people adjacent to them, partners of theirs. Yeah, so that's fascinating. I love that so much. I think a lot of people will see value in that. I think that's it. That kind of closes the loop in my eyes. You set the direction on strategy. This is your brand identity. You stick to that. You create content that aligns to it, and then anything that is captured in likes or comments, you capture with Swan and automate the outbound process or the warm outbound process from there.
Yeah, I would say that we don't have time for that, but we do have agents for much more. So if someone sends me a connection request, so I get, sometimes I can get 300 connection requests a day. Sometimes in crazy days, 1,000 connection requests. So I have an agent that goes through these connection requests and again, identifies ICP leads and starts conversations. And one step below, if someone visits my website and don't convert, so we have an agent that monitors the website activity, can de-anonymize the visitors and then again perform a warm outbound activity. And then we have an inbound agent that also goes over the leads that actually went through the requested demo, routes them. Then we have an agent that preps me for these calls with them, that it gets all the context from the other agents. And then I have an agent that helps me follow up with these people after the call and update HubSpot, make sure that integrity is maintained. And so that's how a one-person GTA organization can close over 30 accounts each month and generate more than $1.5 million pipeline just by myself. No marketing budget, no SDRs.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty advanced, but you're making me feel like a Luddite right now. This is this is amazing. Where can people find you?
So you can follow me on LinkedIn. That's one thing. And Amos Bar-Joseph. And I have a newsletter called The Big Shit. So you can follow it and just tune in for a behind the scenes view of how we're building our autonomous business. And finally, I actually have a digital clone, Michelle. So if you had any questions that popped to your mind during this conversation, you want to ask me. So I have closest thing to it, which is a digital clone called Autonomous. It's in ChatGPT. So you can access it, and if we are dropping some links, we'll share that link as well.
Sweet, yeah. And if you're watching this on Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, let us know if you like this below. Follow up with questions, connect with us. Yeah, I hope everyone enjoyed this session. I know I did. This is awesome.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.